Hi guys, I'm Kristen. This is Kristen is Fully Booked. It has been a hot minute since I was on here last. Hopefully by now you have seen the reading vlog, or sorry, the come book shopping with me vlog that I made when I was back home in Canada. I'm back in Copenhagen now, and I am hopefully going to get back into a regular filming schedule. Today, starting with all of the books that I absolutely have to read before the end of the year. I have admittedly been super overwhelmed by having a new puppy, along with some travel back home to Canada. I am not going to complain about having a new puppy and how much work they are, because I know when I didn't have a dog and I saw people complain about puppies, I was like, you have a dog and I don't, so like, let's not get into that. So I'm not complaining, just my life absolutely changed overnight back in July when we brought her home. So it has been a huge readjustment for me, and I have absolutely been struggling finding like time and just getting like complete different structure in my life. So hopefully things have calmed down a little bit. There's still obviously a lot going on, but I'm going to try really hard to get back onto a regular filming schedule. We are coming up on the end of the year, so that means I have some books that I have been talking about or wanting to read all year, maybe even last year if they were an anticipated release, and I still have not yet read them. So I put through like a list of all of the books that I absolutely must read before the end of the year. I have a list of 12 books, I think it's sort of 13, which I think is really possible in the remaining time that we have left in the year, and that's only 3 books or just over 3 books a month. Between now and then, I usually read 3 books. I will say that my reading has changed a lot again since having the puppy, but I do think it's really reasonable and like feasible to have 3 specific books that I absolutely must read each month before the end of the year. Now, I'm not again going to do a TBR, but I'm going to basically like use this as like, unless I really feel like something else, which I'm sure that will happen, I really want to prioritize these specific books. To start off, I will share the obligations and the goal books that I have still remaining for the rest of the year. I'll start off with one that I have right now going on in September, and that is Unconquerable Sun by Kate Elliot. This is the book checkout book club pick for September, which is the new book club that myself and a few other channels have started just recently. This is our very first official book club pick. We're going to be doing a book every other month. So I technically will also have another obligation book for this, which will take place in November. We don't know which book that will be, so I can't include it here yet. But to start off with, obviously there will be Unconquerable Sun, which I should be reading in the month of September, and then we'll have our live show for that in probably around like mid-October. And that live show is going to be on the channel Bright and Bookish with Sarah's channel. The next obligation that I have before the end of the year is The Queens of Innis Lear by Tessa Gratton. This is a book that I am planning to read, or I promised my friend Taylor that I would read for a project that we have been working on. I haven't held up my end of the bargain. She read The Queens of Innis Lear so far, and I haven't yet. I have almost been like, not purposefully, but I do always feel like this seems like a book that would be really great to read in the fall. So I'm hoping to get to that like maybe in October, towards the end of September, maybe when things start getting like a little more gray and cloudy and rainy and dreary and abysmal here. Just because I think that it is going to be a really great like atmospheric fall kind of a book. I'm not certain that that's the case, but that is what I'm planning. So that's another obligation that I have. And then from here, I have the priority series books that I still need to read before the end of the year. I'm not going to list off all of the Robin Hobb ones in the realm of the Elderlings, because that's just like so not feasible at this point in the year with all of the other obligations and just with my mood and everything. So outside of that, I still have to read The Fifth Season, which recently won a poll as like the book that I must pick up next. So I absolutely have to pick that one up like tonight or tomorrow, because I just finished a couple things. So that is going to be the book that I'm reading next. By N.K. Jemisin. I also have to read The Lies of Luck Lamora by Scott Lynch, which is another priority series star for me. I do have a physical copy of this. Physical reading has been very difficult. I don't have a lot of time to sit and read. So if possible, I might also try to get a copy of an audiobook, which has been how I've been consuming a lot of the books lately successfully. But so either a combination of physically reading that or listening to the audiobook. So that is kind of the goal for that one. And it doesn't look too large of a book, I will say. Like, the physical book doesn't look huge, but I know that it is pretty description heavy, so we'll just see. I know that it is Sarah from the channel Brighton Bookish. I know it's one of their favorite books, so I'm very, very curious to see how I will like that one. The final book in this section is The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. This is like a modern take on sort of the Lord of the Rings kind of classic setup to a storyline, from what I hear, with a really great friendship that is forefront in the story. Now, I will say that I think it's unlikely that I will get to this book, to be honest, before the end of the year, and that's simply because I haven't been able to get a copy of it without physically buying it. And you guys know that I don't really buy books that I don't know that I already really like and enjoy. It's a huge chunker of a book. I've seen it in stores, and again, books, like physical books, buying them here in Denmark are quite expensive because they are imported from elsewhere, obviously, and it just feels like a huge physical, or like a huge purchase for something that I'm not sure that I'm going to like. Ultimately, it is one of my priority, or it was one of my priority series reads for the year, or priority series starts for the year, so that's why I've included it here. I'm pretty sure it's probably not going to happen. The next section that I have is the new releases, all of the new releases that I feel internally I must read before the end of the year. Now, there is no technical reason that I have to read any of these things, but they're ones that I have like been waiting for all year, or even since last year, and I just like really, really, really want to read them, and for whatever reason it hasn't yet happened. Some of them haven't come out yet, so that's the reason for those ones. But for other ones, it just hasn't like lined up yet perfectly in my schedule to be in the right mood and to have a copy physically at the library available for me, so, or ebook available for me. So I haven't read them yet, but anyway, these are all the new releases that I plan to read before the end of the year. The first of which is Fury Song by Rosaria Munda. I cannot believe that I haven't read this yet, considering the fact that it came out at the beginning of August. I had a library copy. I actually let the hold like expire, like I had it for the 21 days, and I didn't read it because I a little bit was like afraid to pick it up, and also it's when I was traveling and I wasn't quite in the mood to like immerse myself in that book and be destroyed and heartbroken based on what I was up to. So I'm going to be reading that shortly. I have put the copy, or I have put it back on hold at the library, so hopefully I'll get another copy soon to pick that up and finish off that series. Now to the Ninth by Tamsin Muir is another one that I must read before the end of the year. This is a series that I really, really love and adore. I've been rereading Gideon and Harrow actually lately in preparation for Nona coming out, which is on September 13th, I believe. So you might already be seeing this, or it might already be out by the time you're seeing this, or maybe not. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a physical copy. I would be open to purchasing an ebook of this, to be honest, even though I don't think I have an ebook of the others. But anyway, it's a possible purchase, but I'm really looking forward to this coming out. I think it's going to be crazy. Taylor and I have been talking about doing something specifically for the Locked Tomb for this channel, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully we will be doing something related to that, or if not both of us, then I will definitely be putting out something related to the Locked Tomb in and around after I read that. I didn't check the date before I started this, but also coming out this month is The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik, so I'll throw the date up on the screen. I think it is coming out fairly soon. And this is the third and final book in the Scholomance series, which I have also been absolutely adoring. I don't know what to expect out of this book. I have some like pretty high expectations for where things go, but I'm really curious to see how things unfold with Elle's story in the Scholomance. This is a book that I will be purchasing an ebook for. I do own ebook copies for the first two books in the series as well, so I plan to pick this one up and hopefully read it. Probably, honestly, like probably not in September, just with everything else that I also have to read, but definitely sometime this fall I'm going to be getting to the last, or sorry, not The Last Graduate, sorry. Did I say The Last Graduate? I even wrote that down this whole time. You know what I mean. The Golden Enclaves, the third and final book in the Scholomance series. Another new release that I absolutely must read before the end of the year is Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. It was definitely one of those ones that was like, it came out, I put it on hold, I waited for a while. I think I took it out from the library as well, and it just like was not the right time for it. I wasn't actually in the mood for it when I got the library copy, and then of course it expired. So you go back onto that like hold, postpone cycle where you feel like it, but you don't have it available, and then you have it available and you don't really feel like it. All of my library readers know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. I think what maybe led me feeling to like not always ready for it was that I do think the reception for this one was a little bit mixed, with people either feeling like they enjoyed it or that it didn't quite live up to the first book, and just like that it felt a little bit like a middle book. So I think that just like when you start hearing meh, or like not meh things, but when you start hearing like not rave reviews, you're kind of tampers down your expectations and your excitement for picking something up, and that definitely happened with this one. Another one is All the Seeds of the World by Guy Gavriel Kay. It feels a little blasphemous that I haven't read this yet, to be honest, but what happened was I was going to pre-order it and then I didn't, and then I was going to order a copy, and then I decided, actually, why don't I pick a physical copy up when I'm back home in Canada? And as you saw in my Come Book Shopping with Me vlog, the library, or the store that I went to didn't have a copy, and I didn't really have a lot of time to drive around to multiple stores, so I didn't end up getting a copy when I was home. I might put it on hold at the library beforehand and risk like just reading the ebook instead of reading a physical copy that I buy. I'm gonna buy it anyway because I buy all of Guy Gavriel Kay's books, so I'm getting it either way, but I might read it from the library before that happens. So that's another one that I absolutely must read before the end of the year. And then the very last new release that is coming out, or actually I think that's already out, is the Book of Gothel by Mary McMine. Based on the reviews that came out at the time, like what people were saying about it, some of the advanced reviews, I do think this is a book that I'm going to enjoy, and I do think it's also a book that I think is really going to be a great book to read in the fall. So I'm hoping to get to that one as well. This one is like maybe the least priority out of all of the other new releases, but definitely have some ideas of when I will fit that in. And that is it for new releases. Then the next section is series continuations. This one I actually really just have one, and that's, well, maybe two. The 12th book was Knight's Shadow, which is the second book in the Traitor's Blade series. Is that what that's called? No, Greatcoats, in the Greatcoats series by Sebastian de Castell. And I really loved Traitor's Blade, and the only reason that I haven't picked up Knight's Shadow so far yet, after having read that Traitor's Blade back early in the spring, was because I had such a great experience on the audiobook, and I can only get a physical or like an ebook copy of Knight's Shadow at my library. So I've been a little bit sad about that and just putting it off because I wanted to have the same audio experience. But I also don't feel like it would make sense to not read Knight's Shadow when I loved Traitor's Blade so much. So I feel like out of all the series that I started this year, that's the one that I think like I had the best experience with the first book, with like maybe Jade City being a close second. So the fact that I haven't continued on in that series just is like a travesty. So I put Knight's Shadow on as a must read before the end of the year, and if I can't get the audio copy, then I can't get the audio copy, and I will survive reading the ebook instead. Now the one like final maybe book here is the like a possible book number 13, but really if you think about it, the Emberblade was also like a maybe, so we're in and around 12 is what I'm saying. Other series continuation that I will like probably, but maybe not necessarily pick up before the end of the year is Golden Fool. It's the second book in the Tawny Man series that I have been reading as part of the Realm of the Elderlings. It's been quite a while since I read the first book in Tawny Man with Maria from the channel. Maria might read that. I can't even remember what month that would have been, like June maybe. But basically Maria and I are having different like enjoyment experiences out of this series. So we haven't been like chomping at the bit to pick up the next one. I was when I finished that first book, and then when I had a little bit of space from it, I eased out of that feeling of like must need pick up the next book. So now that I've had a little bit of space, I am ready to pick up the next book, but it's also not necessarily like a top priority for me to finish that series as soon as possible. I remember what happened. I know like that I'm going to keep reading in it. There's just other books that I feel a little bit more sense of urgency to read, especially before the end of the year. So this is lower on the priority for me of like continuing on in the series, and that's okay. So those are all of the books that I like must read before the end of the year. There are other books that I'm interested in reading. There are other books that I will probably read. I will hopefully read more than 12 books between now and the end of, or 13 or whatever, before now and the end of the year. So obviously I am going to be reading other books. I just really want to like always look at this list when I'm ready to pick up a new book and be like, first, before I look at anything else on my library holds or anything else on Scribd, is there a book here that I feel like I could pick up right now and read and enjoy in this moment and prioritize these books. So we'll see how I do with this list. There is something that I'm going to be participating in November. Stay tuned for some announcements on that. I'm hoping to squeeze as many of these books into that specific thing. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Stay tuned for that as I possibly can. That is it for me today. Let me know, are there any books that you absolutely must read before the end of the year, whether or not they are an obligation or a goal that you want to get to, or just you can't possibly imagine not reading that book before the end of the year because you keep putting it off for whatever reason. Let me know, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.